Here I'm replacing the fuel filters on my 2016 GMC Canyon with the 2.8 liter Duramax. This is about all you'll need is a plastic jug, a ratchet, and a 27mm socket. Flat nose pliers also helps. Here's the kit of filters. There's 2 in there. I'll link to them on Amazon if you buy them through that link. I get a little bit of money and I appreciate that. Want a little bit of cardboard. It does get kind of messy. You'll see in this, I'm showing that beneath the fuel door is where your fuel tank is, and just ahead of that, kind of below the driver's rear door, there's the enclosure with the 2 filters in it. I make sure I get a flat nose pliers because this can get a little snug over time just to loosen this. I use no tools to tighten it again, but getting that on there straight just helps you twist it off, especially when I filmed this. I think it was -10, -20. A little hard to do with your fingers. And you want a decent sized jug for catching the fuel that comes out of here. I bet it's a little upwards of half a gallon. About halfway through this I realized the jug that I was using had holes in it from a different project, so quick jug swap. Use that 27mm socket to loosen these both up. Make sure you're loosening them and not accidentally tightening them. They're just plastic, so it would be easy to break them. Once you can see the O-ring like that, it's actually fully unthreaded. There is an O-ring up in the top that holds it in. So eventually here you'll see I just move my jug and get a good grip on it and pull it down. They kind of hang up in there. I usually just change these when the computer on the dash tells me once the life hits 0. I've gone quite a ways over 0 and never had any issues. At this point I'm going to spin in that little drain plug so I don't break it with my ratchet or anything. I just tighten that by hand. The only reason I use the pliers is it seems to get kind of snug over time. If you're really nitpicky about your driveway, definitely put some cardboard down. It's kind of a messy process. Filters hold a decent amount of fuel even once they're out, so have something ready. I put a little bit of diesel on the O-rings when I install the new ones. You really do have to push up a decent amount on them to get them to seat the top O-ring. Here I'm spinning it and nothing's happening because you need a decent amount of upward force. And when you tighten these down, they will come to a stop. They bottom out. Don't try to tighten them beyond that, especially if you've got a pretty big ratchet like I'm using. If you do any work on this truck, you'll want to have a 27mm socket handy. It's the same for these fuel filters as well as the oil filter enclosure. Kind of a clever design by GM. Just bottom them out and you're good to go. Some people will dump this fuel back in their tank. Some people will bring it to a recycling center. I just burn it in my Nipco heater. I'll dump it in there a little bit later. Filters turn out a little bit dark every time. I've done this a ton of times, as you can see. I would recommend not dumping this back in your tank because these filters are water separating. So there might be a little water in here. Doesn't hurt anything to burn them up in the heater though.